Glenn Antizzo, the professor. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Paul. Doing good.
There was a little snafu there for Monday, but it's a great place to put a snafu. It's on a Monday, isn't it?
That's right. Get it out of the way.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me start over here. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2024 Humanities Teacher of the Year. Congratulations on that, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you put is it a big trophy on the mantle?
I haven't gotten it yet. That'll be on Friday. There is a banquet at the Mississippi Museums.
That's good. Well, congratulations on that. It's a great honor.
Thank you.
Listen, so many things going on here. We can start by just saying an update on what's going on as far as the wars are concerned. I know that's your specialty, and that was part of the things that you were concentrating on. But let's take, first of all, what is happening as far as Hamas is concerned, and how long does this continue to go on? And as far as you know, is the Israeli army still pushing that as hard right now as far as their attack on it? Have they pulled back a little bit? Or where is that one now? Because we don't get a lot of news on it.
Yeah, no, my read on this is that they've pulled back a bit on this. I think that the international pressure is really getting great on the Israelis, and they're making sure that they try to take care to not hurt civilians if possible. What they've done is they've cleared out the northern part of Gaza for the most part, and they had routes where they allowed people to get down to Rafah, which is on the Egyptian border. And if Netanyahu is to be believed, something like 18 out of 24 Hamas brigades have been annihilated, and that they've got this one last pocket down in Rafah. Now, of course, that creates an issue because I think you've got like about I think it's like 2.5 million people that live in Gaza, and you've got 1.5 of them now holed up in the Rafah area. Yeah. So, you've got to – what the Israelis have been trying to do is let the civilians get out. And the problem is, where do you create these routes to allow them out? And if they get out, where do they go? I mean, it's only about 20 miles by about 7 miles wide. And, unfortunately, they're living in tent cities and improvised shelters in Rafah right now. And Gaza itself, the city, has been largely destroyed. So they would have to re-erect these tent cities in the northern part.
How many people are we talking about, Glenn?
About 1.5 million.
Wow.
If you or to put it a little bit differently for folks listening to us, about half the population of the state of Mississippi.
It's amazing we don't have planes over there bringing them into this country. We're doing that in other places like Haiti.
Yeah, well, it's funny you should say that because you would figure with the way that, Arab countries and Iran talk about how this cause is so important to them, not one of them has lifted a finger to actually take any of them in. Egypt is terrified of doing it, even though they're right there, because they're afraid, and you see this on the southern border, as you pointed out, that you would have Hamas and Islamic Jihad fighters mixing in with the refugees, establishing a presence in northeastern Sinai, which would not only, allow them a base to slip across the border and hit Israel, but also these are groups that don't have much use for the Egyptian government and would probably like to topple it too.
It affects us in this country in almost every state, but certainly in some of the more populated states, because there have been protest after protest. Almost, well, like I said, a vast majority of those have been in favor of the Palestinians. So I'm not sure who's paying for these, but that many of them are not organic.
Yeah, no. As a matter of fact, I think that you would find, Paul, if you look to see who a lot of these people are, it's the same people. It's the same people that were the anti-nuke protesters in the 1980s. These are the same people that were, screaming no blood for oil in the 1990s. And these are the same people that, basically want to, burn down American cities during the 2000s. It's the same group of hard left protesters who as you say, I have no idea where the money's coming from, but it's the same groups over and over and over again, I think, for the most part.
They show up on buses. They're fed. They're paid. They get their signs done. It's over and over and over. And I don't know if you point back to George Soros, but I do have a story in the stack here. It's not only George Soros as a multi-millionaire or billionaire who is out there causing political chaos in America, but there are a couple of other big names behind the scenes who don't get a lot of press from overseas who are causing that chaos here in this country. But the president hasn't been, well, he's been kind of wishy-washy.
Yeah.
Just about every time a microphone is in front of them and asks that question about his conversations with Netanyahu, what demands he are making. At one point, he was caught off mic at a hot mic saying that him and Netanyahu are going to have a come to Jesus meeting.
I almost fell out of my chair when I heard that, because you're telling the leader of a Jewish state to come to Jesus.
Yes. I mean, where do you go from there?
Here's the thing. I think Biden, his original instinct was to back Israel. And he's getting a lot of pressure from the far left of his party. And I think he's worried. I think a lot of this, and I think you see this in Schumer's speech on the floor of the Senate the other day, that they're terrified over the prospect of losing, for example, Michigan, which has a very large Arab population in the Detroit area, and Biden knows he absolutely needs that state if he wants a second term.
Take a look at Minnesota in that area.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people now in this country. Who knows what it's going to look like in 10 or 15 years from now. All right, let's switch over to that other big mess as far as Ukraine's concerned. It was, to me, kind of a disturbing message that I got, read, was it last week early, that Mike Johnson, the new speaker, had said something about solidifying behind some of the people who said we do need to continue funding this.
Right.
And the House has been... The chamber that put up a little bit more of a fight on maybe we should end this deal and end some of the funding. I think we're closing in on nearly $200 billion.
Yeah. Now, one of the problems, in my opinion, one of the big problems here is that we're tearing a page out of the sort of the Vietnam playbook, in the sense that we're just fighting up to, allowing them to fight up to a certain level. That we give them the weapons, and then we tell them you can only use them in certain ways that will not allow you to have victory, but to continue a bloody stalemate. And it's not helping anybody. Except maybe some armaments manufacturers in the United States. I wish that we had allowed them to take the gloves off. I don't know where they're getting them from, whether they're manufacturing them themselves or they're getting them from a third party. But Ukraine has had some success with launching missiles and drones. 35 drones hit deep inside Russia, including Moscow and St. Petersburg. And now, from my understanding, is they've hit up to 12 oil refineries inside Russia. They've also been able to hit the Black Sea Fleet at Sevastopol a few times. And if they were allowed to take the gloves off and to hit the Russians, I think that they could get them to the negotiating table a little bit faster. But I think it's slowing down, because you're right. I mean, you're spending $200 million. Where are you? We're basically
$200 billion.
$2 billion, rather, excuse me. And we're at status quo ante. We're basically where we started.
Well, also, I think we've lost trust. If you ask most of Americans, and I'm telling you, it's probably going to be 8 out of 10, not too sure why we're fighting this, and are we fighting it because it's a great deal for the military complex? And then you have some old goats like this turtle who come up and say this.
The Ukraine assistance. Let's talk about where the money's really going. A significant portion of it's being spent in the United States, in 38 different states, replacing the weapons that we sent to Ukraine with more modern weapons. So we're rebuilding our industrial base.
That's what President Biden's seeking to do.
It's correct. No Americans are getting killed in Ukraine. We're rebuilding our industrial base.
So this is a great economic move. We're rebuilding our industrial base, and that's a good cause. No Americans. What are you people worried about out there? The money?
The Ukrainians are destroying the army of one of our biggest rivals. I have a hard time finding anything wrong with that. I think it's wonderful that they're defending themselves. And also the notion that the Europeans are not doing enough. They've done almost $90 billion. They're housing a bunch of refugees who escaped I think that our NATO allies in Europe have done quite a lot.
You sound like you have a lot in common with President Biden and his worldview, based on what you just laid out.
Well, not on the domestic side, but on this issue that we were discussing today, we're generally in the same place.
There are a lot of people in the Republican Party who's glad to see this guy go as far as his leadership role. $90 billion from all of the European nations put together as far as NATO is concerned. We alone, $165 billion when that thing was cut. I still see some inequality in that. I'll let you answer the question or comment on that when we come back. And more with Glenn Antizzo, Professor of Political Science, Mississippi College. The Professor of Political Science at Mississippi College, Glenn Antizzo. You think the parents are listening this morning?
Yes. Yeah. As a matter of fact, Dad and I were shooting messages back and forth earlier today.
Just wanted to say, ¿Cómo está, compadre? and just let them know that we'll treat you right when you're here. Were the beignets and the donuts and everything available for you there? They'll arrive at any moment. Coffee is hot and everything's taken care of. I don't know if you've seen this, though, but I haven't heard it on national news. Russian President Vladimir Putin was celebrating last night after winning a rigged election for the 5th consecutive term. There's not really a lot of news out of that. But I'm just thinking about the White House saying this is how they do it.
Yeah.
There was no real competition against the long-running leader. Russian citizens attempted to express their dissatisfaction with the election by standing in long lines to vote against Putin on Sunday. Many of the voters said they were doing so in honor of recently deceased and longtime opposition leader who died in February, mysteriously. If Putin secures a spot as president in this election, he'll hold the spot until at least 2030. So news there. That template is being used in some other countries, as you well know.
Yeah, no, the original Russian constitution was you were only supposed to get 2 terms in office, and that's why he had to leave, and his sock puppet Medvedev took over for 4 years or 5 years. And then he came back, and they changed the Constitution, so now you can serve, I believe, unlimited terms. And, when you intimidate and imprison your opponents, it makes it a lot easier to run, getting them off the ballot.
Doesn't that scare you of what's going on in this country, though? Because let's just say 4 years, another 4 years of Joe Biden or whomever they put in his place. Couldn't we quickly go to that point? Certainly if they stack the Supreme Court.
Yeah, no, I would hate to see that happen. And to be honest with you, I think that just getting back to what we were talking about with Gaza earlier, they are so scared that they are not going to win this election. The numbers for Biden look absolutely abysmal. He's being hit from the right by, obviously the Republicans. He's being hit from the left by his hardcore, extreme I won't even call them liberals because I don't want to dishonor the word liberal. These people are, in some cases, just so far to the left they're about to fall over. And I don't understand why he is so worried about them. Yes, I understand that there's a risk in a place like Michigan or perhaps Minnesota, but I think that he would probably, if he positioned himself as more of the moderate that he ran as in 2020, that he'd have a much better chance. Although, of course, you look at certain indicators. Inflation's back up again. Gasoline prices, I couldn't believe it. I drove by on my way into work a few days ago, and gas was in the 290s, and I drove home that afternoon, and it was 308.
Yeah, I had to get some yesterday, so I kept driving to get past the 299. And I finally got to 286, and I said, that's it. I'll see if I can just get some 286.
Yeah, I know. I bought some gas in Starkville when I was on my way back from the Mississippi State game yesterday because the gas was a lot cheaper up in Starkville.
It's crazy.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told me on Wednesday that she does not see a smooth path down for inflation. I'm curious, how bumpy a road will it be before we see all prices then fall?
I want to remind you what caused inflation. We know that inflation was caused by supply chains that broke down because of the pandemic, Russia's war on Ukraine. We know that caused oil prices to skyrocket because the president took action. I've seen inflation go down by 2/3 from its peak. And so want to make sure that it is clear what she said and what the data also shows.
Thirds from its peak. Its peak was a year and a half into President Biden's into his term. He also canceled the Keystone Pipeline, which also sparked, and we passed $5.8 trillion in spending, which also pushes inflation. My question is, how much longer will it be for Americans to then bring down prices?
Because the president's unprecedented actions that he took as it relates to the oil, we saw gas prices go down. Every part of what I just said, what I just laid out, the president has taken action on.
It is almost reached the point of being nauseating when you hear her say things like that. I want to switch over to the border for a few moments here in our remaining time. And there's one big story out there, just one after the other. Every other day, we have another immigrant crime. And it's just not going to stop. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. Well, here's the immigrant crime du jour.
Fox News alert: a Haitian man who was living at a Massachusetts migrant hotel is behind bars, charged with raping a 15-year-old girl.
Griff Jenkins is live in Washington with some brand new information about this case, and it is stunning. Griff?
It's concerning for a new reason. Now, DHSI sources, Fox has learned that this Haitian man, 26-year-old Corey Alvarez, was arrested and charged with raping a 15-year-old disabled girl at a migrant hotel in Massachusetts. Alvarez was brought into the U.S. last year via the Biden administration's CHNV mass parole program for Haitians. We're told he flew directly from Haiti to JFK Airport to New York City in June of 2023 and had listed a sponsor in New Jersey. This program allows up to 30,000 people each month from these countries to fly into the U.S. and be granted 2 years of humanitarian parole, which allows them to apply to work here in the U.S. They are supposed to be vetted and have this sponsor in the U.S. The Biden administration considered this program a, quote, lawful pathway, and the recipients bypass the border entirely, flying over instead. Now, you see here, according to CBP data, the Biden administration has brought over 138,000 Haitians into the U.S. via this program since January of 2023. The program, of course, in an effort to cut down on the high number of illegal crossings at the border. I've seen countless Haitians crossing illegally. We reached out, by the way, to DHS and CBP for comment, have not heard back. But it's important to note, again, this is not an individual that snuck into the U.S. He wasn't surrendering and apprehended and processed at the border. He flew straight in on this program,
guys. The President of the United States of America is responsible for this, much like Lincoln.
Yeah. No,
this program, he's flown in 100 and flown them in. Not walked across the desert to get here. He's flown in 138,000. Doesn't say where they are across America.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and there's no real vetting going on here. You are having, in some cases, other countries tearing a page out of the Fidel Castro playbook. You may remember in 1980, you had the prisons basically thrown open during the Mariel boat lift. And you had all of these criminals being brought into the United States, mixed in with the legitimate refugees. And now you've got Maduro in Venezuela, who's basically Castro light, doing the exact same thing, from what I understand. And we have no idea who these people are. They're coming into the country. And, this case where you just played the clip from now, where you actually have, the government almost sponsoring the bringing in of unvetted people. It makes no sense to me. Mr. President, what is the end game here? What are you hoping to achieve? Why is it so important to you to keep that border open? I actually saw a guy on TV the other day who was wearing a Biden-Harris T-shirt when he got to the border because he thought it would make it easier for him to get in.
Well, I mean, the reason is, and I think everybody understands this now, is to make sure their vote is harvested one way or the other. And they're going to do everything they possibly can to do this. We're probably going to have another point where at some point the vote is stopped and there's more. We had, and I didn't capture this. We had was it an ex-mafia guy that was on the social media platforms talking about a guy that he knew had 30,000 mail-in ballots that he was paid. He was paid literally hundreds of thousands of dollars to have his people fill out 30,000 ballots, and they all delivered them at the same time. And his point was something where, how stupid can they be? They should have at least marked 1,000 of them for Trump, but they marked all 30,000 for Joe Biden. And it's gotten to be where it's absolutely ridiculous on this point. But just let me give you a couple of bullet points on this one. Chicago has begun evicting migrants from homeless shelters due to a lack of resources. City says more than 39,000 migrants have come in since August of 2022. This is in the New York Times. The Department of Homeland Security has called allegations that a Haitian migrant raped a disabled 15-year-old girl heinous, as we just heard that story. We had Governor DeSantis report that the Florida Fish and Wildlife officers are interdicting many vessels now, one with 25 illegal aliens from Haiti. That place is a mess now. They are trying to get the heck out of there. The boat was reportedly carrying drugs, firearms, night vision gear. Measles are showing up, vaccinations in many classrooms where they're allowing unvaccinated kids from other countries to come in. More than 1,000 drones per month are crossing the U.S. airspace near the border with Mexico. A top general said he's never seen anything like this. Those 1,000 drones are just surveillance from the drug cartel. That's just some of the stories. Final segment next. The good professor, political science, Glenn Antizzo. And Professor, when you start looking at the situation as far as the campaign is concerned, we're almost to a point where there are some people who think maybe it'd be a good idea for Trump to go down to the basement. He doesn't have to do anything. Just don't mess it up. Stay there. But I don't think that'll happen.
No, but on the other hand, he may not have a choice in the respect that there may not be any debates. Mm-hmm. I'm not so sure that Biden is going to want to go into the arena with Trump. If Trump could restrain himself, because that debate that they had last time I thought was a disaster. Trump did himself no favors and made Biden look sympathetic. But Biden cannot afford to get in front of the cameras without a teleprompter, without somebody whispering in his ear, without notes, and stand up against Trump in a debate, I don't think.
Oh, he can't do it. He just physically, mentally, he cannot do it. And you are absolutely right. Unless the former president is really rehearsed at this, he can really exacerbate what happened last time, make people feel sorry for Joe Biden.
Right.
It will be easy this time.
Yeah, no, and he does, he can... Biden, that is, has the capability of sort of projecting, when he wants to, a grandfatherly image, and nobody wants to beat up on Grandpa.
Were you a little bit surprised at his energy during the State of the Union? And maybe it was the Adderall. I'm not sure what it was. But, I mean, you compare 15 minutes, let me say this, 15 hours before and 15 hours after. Those are two different human beings than what you saw during the State of the Union.
Yeah, no, I only get to watch little bits and pieces of it. I was actually giving a talk at MC at the same time that he was on. He had the bad taste to schedule while I was talking.
It was much better to listen to you, I promise. I was there.
Yeah.
What's the political stuff going on as far as Haiti now? I know that they're all everybody's scrambling to get out of there, fearful of their lives.
You had the civil government has all but collapsed there, and you've got gangsters pretty much vying for control of the country.
It sounds like New York.
There is real worry in the Dominican Republic right now that people are going to be running for that border. And I can understand why. I mean, Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. It's had a long history of political instability. We've actually had to intervene there militarily twice, 1994 and 2004. This guy who is the chief gangster running the place, who's got the nickname Barbecue, I think that
I don't even want to know how he got the name.
Well, there's a practice that's been used there called necklacing. And the thug that we went and rescued out of there in 2004, a guy named Aristide, used to talk about how he loved the smell of the necklace. Necklacing is when you take a tire, You take out the inner tube, you soak the tire in gasoline, then you shove it down over your opponent's shoulders and light it on fire.
Wow.
And I'm sure that's probably how our friend Barbecue got his name.
I will say this. We all expected after the two wonderful people, Bill and Hillary, got together with their global initiative and had this wonderful drive that it would just take a matter of years, and Haiti would probably become another Hawaii, but apparently they misused the money. So.
It is a basket case, and it's also an environmental disaster. I would invite anybody listening to the show right now to try to pull up a satellite photograph of the island of Hispaniola, and you will be able to see the border between the Dominican Republic and Haiti, because Haiti has been destroyed.
Yep.
And the Dominican Republic is still lush and green. You can actually see the border.
Did they cut all their trees down?
A lot of them, yeah.
Yeah, I said that. And also the Dominican is building a wall the length of the island between Haiti and the Dominican. They've been fortifying, preparing for this mess coming, as the good professor said.
This is why I said when you want to teach kids why they should know what the hell's going on in politics, show them that picture. Show them the terra firma is the same on both sides. But politics makes a difference. It's the same thing on this side of the American border, looking across the Rio Grande and seeing the adobe huts, and you look like you're back in an old-time Western or something, and you see where politics makes a difference.
Oh, yeah. No, all you got to do is drive on I-10 through El Paso, and driving towards New Mexico, look out the driver's side window, and you will see literally a world of difference between the two.
It's a good visual reminder for children of, and I say children and young adults, to get involved in politics.
Yes.
A little Bobby Rush music's going to take us out here. We thank you, sir, as always. Again, congratulations on your award. Well deserved. Look forward to talking to you again.
Absolutely. Can't wait.